Judica County is brought to you by Whitaker and Hamer, attorneys and counselors at law, your law firm for life.
Judica County Radio, your host, Josh Whitaker and Joe Hamer, managing partners, Whitaker and Hamer Law Firm, practicing attorneys here in North Carolina. Your law firm for life, that's their motto. Again, offices conveniently located Raleigh, Garner, Clayton, Goldsboro, Fuquay-Varina, Gastonia, and in Morehead City. And if you've got a legal situation, you've got some questions, and you need some answers, you can always call Whitaker and Hamer, 800-659-1186. That's 800-659-1186. Leave your contact info, briefly what the call's about, and an attorney with Whitaker and Hamer will be in touch. And as always, we'll give you this way to get in touch. You can email your questions to the show, info@judicacounty.com. We have a top 10 list, Josh.
We do, man. We do, Morgan. Man.
We do have that, Morgan.
Man. That is true. In the break we were talking though, we haven't. We were not together last week. We had court. We had other things that we had to do, so we were not able to sit down together. Morgan was asking what we've been up to, and I forgot. I saw the Eagles. Yeah, they were at PNC again. You know, I saw them a year or two ago at PNC, and it was very sad because they're all in their 70s, mid 70s, and at the very end. You know, if you're familiar with the Eagles, Don Henley came out and he said, that they enjoyed being there and they enjoyed performing. And if they don't pass this way again, you know, it was good to be here.
You thought that was going to be it?
I thought that was going to be it. And then they announced they continued their tour, started a new one. I don't know how that works these days, but they came through, and the surprise was Steely Dan. And I'm not a huge Steely Dan fan. Mm-hmm. Maybe you are, Joseph.
No,
maybe
man.
you are, Morgan.
No, not.
I mean, I'm a fan of all of that classic rock, but it wasn't Steely Dan, correct?
Right. Name a Steely Dan song besides Peg.
I couldn't have named Peg, man. So you got me beat. You got me beat there.
Morgan, can you name a Steely Dan song besides Peg?
Cannot.
All right.
If I heard one, I could be like, that's probably Steely Dan.
That's like Foreigner. I was listening to some radio show and they were like, name 6 Foreigner songs. And like everybody, when they thought about it, everybody could name like 4 or 5.
That's all they got.
But you couldn't get that 6th Foreigner song.
No.
Anywho,
somebody can.
Steely Dan was not there. The surprise opener was the Doobie Brothers.
Yes.
I've never seen the Doobie Brothers.
Hey.
But I was excited about it. Doobie Brothers rocked it, man.
Yeah, they're great. They're great.
You don't know they're great.
Yes, I do. Come on, man. Just because I don't know Steely Dan.
The Doobie Brothers.
I know the Doobies.
The Doobie Brothers did like an hour. And they were like so happy to be up there, man. It was like you heard it all on the radio growing up, right? So it was like
it's not even that. My mom's husband, we talked about this one time. We don't call him a stepdad because I respect him and care about him. But he had a band. They'd do a bunch of Doobies covers. And they'd have a Christmas party and they'd all come, they'd play, they'd be jamming out. It was a good time, man. So I got some fond Doobies memories. You didn't invite me to this Eagles concert. We went to the last one together.
We did. We went to the last one
and
together.
you were like, you're the reason why they're probably not coming back. So you're like, I'm not inviting you to this one. So,
but it was good times. I really enjoyed that concert. It's for me,
the whole thing, not just the Doobies. The Eagles brought it too.
Yeah, the Eagles
I assume they did.
Yeah, the Eagles brought it too. That's kind of cool how they do it because Glenn Fry's passed away, but his son's in the band. And Vince Gill, I've seen Vince Gill a lot. He's awesome in there too. But
he was good last time.
Yeah, he was. Yep.
Good for you, man.
So
sounds like life is going pretty well for you.
So I had a lot of fun. If nothing else, I got that. That was a good show. I hope the Eagles come through again. I hope that's not it for the Eagles.
I hope they come through 8 more times so we can do a top 10 list of the Eagles concerts that we've seen.
I can do that.
That'd be a good show idea for us.
I can do that. I can do that with Willie Nelson. I could rank my
10 Willie Nelsons.
I think it's like 12 or 13.
Jeez, man.
Well, I think as long as you have Don Henley, he'll be able to plug in different musicians to kind of create the Eagles all over again.
Well, why wouldn't you? It was packed out, was it not?
Oh, it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was packed.
Yeah.
The thing about that though is Don Henley, is an older man, right? I've never been one. If you've ever seen me or you've seen the videos, I don't bother dyeing my hair. Right? So I've got a lot of gray, and Don Henley, I guess, dyed his hair for a long time. And at some point, you just stop. You just make that decision as a guy. Like I've dyed my hair for this many years,
and you don't care.
I just don't
That's
care.
it.
Yeah.
So he's 100% gray. So he looks completely different than he used to, which is the natural way.
Sure.
It's just a shock to the system because it looks like he aged 42 years since the last time.
Which ages you because you remember him as the old Don Henley.
Well, you think about that, so the past couple of weeks, we got a new Beatles song.
Did we?
Yeah, we got a new Beatles song, and we got a new album from the Rolling Stones.
Did we? Where do they release these things? What have I been doing?
I don't know, man.
God, I didn't know any of this. I didn't know the Eagles are coming.
Yeah, so the Beatles had a new song. As I was telling my dad's in his 70s, and I was sitting down talking to him, and I wanted to make sure. I was like, you did hear the new Beatles song.
Is it worth hearing?
It's not terrible.
Okay.
I mean,
so it's terrible.
It's
if you have to say, if your review of it is, it's not terrible, it's not worth listening to, man.
It's worth listening to.
Okay.
Yeah, you give it a listen.
I'll be sure to not do that because you've made me. I will avoid it. If someone turns it on, I'm gonna just blah and plug my ears.
And then I don't know, Morgan. I haven't listened to any of the Rolling Stones album, but I've been meaning to.
I haven't. I'm a huge Stones fan, but obviously not that.
Are you more?
Yeah, really.
Apparently,
doesn't
I'm
sound
not.
like
apparently I'm not. No. But I mean, it's the Stones. I mean, they probably sound almost the same.
Yeah, it's got a good point. Very good point.
All right, top 10 list. Top 10 list are friends starting businesses. These are mistakes that they make early on that can be fatal, right? So top 10 mistakes.
Fatal. Wait a second.
To the business.
I don't know.
To
The business. Yeah. Oh, man.
All right.
You will die if you run your business this way.
All right. The first mistake is, and I don't know how I feel about this.
Wait, is this like, okay, you say the first one. The top 10 list implies we're starting at 10, like the least bad one, and we're moving up to the worst one? Or is it no particular order?
There's no particular order.
All right, that's fair.
The first one listed.
I just wanted to establish the ground rules, man.
The first one listed is not incorporating right away. Not incorporating right away. And so I would put not incorporating / organizing right away.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Joseph?
I like your / I think that's a good / because again, incorporating implies a corporation, and we could be forming an LLC. So yeah, I like that caveat. I think, yeah, we've talked about this, right? We talked about the fact that you don't necessarily have to have a business entity to run a business. You could be a sole proprietorship operating under a DBA potentially. There's, it's not like a mandatory requirement, but at the same time, I would argue that the benefits outweigh the benefits of doing that and of forming an organization and of doing it immediately out of the gate are many.
Yeah, there's some legal fees there. And that's, when you're starting a new business, maybe it's not a business that's funded really well, right? A lot of times you're starting these things and it's, it's on sweat and hard work, and there's not a lot of capital. There's not a lot of funds. And so maybe it doesn't always make the most sense to jump right into organizing or an entity or incorporating an entity. So there are times when it doesn't. But if you're starting a business that you hope will succeed, especially if you're starting it with other people, I'd put that caveat in there too.
Yeah, for sure. If it's not just you, yeah, for sure.
And even when I started a business with this Joseph guy, we still get it started the right way. Even if you know somebody real well, even if they're family, even if they're your best friends, it's kindergarten.
That's all the more reason to do it the right way. Because again, you want to take the guesswork out of it. You want to have clear parameters.
Because one of the things you have to do, we'll talk about this, how, incorporating or organizing gives you legal protections, right? You're minimizing your risk, you're protecting your personal assets, you're creating some tax relief for yourself. You're doing a lot of things. But one of the things that you have to do when you sit down and organize is you have to sit down, whether it's by yourselves or it's with an attorney, and you got to answer a lot of questions. Because when you incorporate or you organize, you're going to have to sit down and do an agreement where you say, all right, we each have 50%, right? Or we don't have 50%, and we share profits equally, or we share losses equally, or I'm putting in $100,000 and I need to make sure my $100,000 gets paid out before anybody else gets any profit, or this person's running the business, so they need to make sure they have a salary because they're putting in a lot of time and energy, and you just kind of figure it out, and you get everybody's expectations on paper, and it's really great because you might have. I've seen very smart people, very accomplished business people go into a venture together and have very different ideas of what they're going to be getting out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because they never sat down. They never went through the trouble. But when you sit down and you organize an LLC or you incorporate a corporation, you're going to have to talk about that stuff. You're going to have to get it out in the open, and everybody's going to have clear expectations. And that goes a long way.
Yeah, I can tell you that the time you don't want to sit down and figure it out is when you're rocking and rolling, you're in the thick of it, and you're making money or even not making money, going through a tumultuous period. Like that is not the time to sit down and talk about it and to flesh these things out. When you're talking about doing business with other people, you want to have the responsibilities dictated and well defined, profit share and everything. You want to go ahead and set those parameters. And one thing that I think is important that a lot of people don't realize is how easy it is to do that. Especially speaking from experience in terms of our firm and how we do things. We've got a very streamlined, efficient, easy to use process that we've designed that's very client friendly. Where it's a lot easier and less daunting than some people think. And we're going to get you in, we're going to get you out, we're going to take care of you, and it's not like some astronomical expense. And for the money that you spend to do it, man, you can save yourself so much trouble, so many headaches down the line.
And too, it's not a one size fits all. So you may come in and not need very much from us, and you're not going to pay for very much if you don't need. You may come in and you may need a very complicated agreement. You may need some promissory notes. You may need something very sophisticated, and of course that would result in some higher legal fees. But again, it's not a one size fits all. And this goes into mistake number 2. And so we'll just go ahead. Mistake number 2 on this list is hiring a non-business lawyer, right? So this is just going to someone who may practice family law or practice something else, and trying to get them to help you set up a business. And they may not have the experience necessary, because what they should be doing is advising you, pointing out problems you're going to have if you don't plan properly. And like Joseph said, our system's designed. There's a lot of questions we ask you right out of the gate, just to help us know which way you're going and what you might.
And it's because we've seen it, right? That's the benefit. That's why the point you're making is a point, because someone who's not well versed in these situations, who hasn't done 150 consults, with these pitfalls and seeing these things, isn't going to necessarily know what to look out for. So yeah, it makes perfect sense.
And it makes a big difference what your business is going to do. Is your business going to hold and manage real property? Is your business going to open up a restaurant and have to get county, state permits? Is your company going to develop a product? Is your company going to have salesmen? Are you going to have to protect intellectual property? Are you going to have to, once you talk to us, we'll be able to point you in the right direction, get you thinking about some things maybe you haven't thought about. But like Joe says, you don't want to figure this all out when you're doing really good, money's coming in the door like crazy, and you find out that other owners have some expectations of that money that maybe you don't share with them, but you never went down and put it in writing. Or if you're losing money, you definitely don't want to bear the brunt of that loss alone. So it's important that you've prepared everybody for good and bad, because things fail, right? We have people come in and they put everything together and they do everything they should do, and oh man, what's that Star Trek? I'm not a big Star Trek fan.
Who is?
There are people out there who are big Star Trek people. I don't dislike Star Trek. I'm a Star Wars kid,
but it's not
Star Trek.
Yeah. Me either, man.
What's the one with Picard? Which one is that? Is that Next Generation?
Next Generation, I'm pretty sure. I have no idea.
He has this quote, and it's a meme now. And every time I see it,
you sound like a Star Trek kid to me right now.
No, man, I'm not. But Picard has this quote where he says, "You can do everything right and still fail." Right. So you can do everything right and still fail. And he just, I can't remember the second part of the quote, but it's like, that's just life. That's not, but that's what you can do. You can plan, you can have this great idea. You can plan it out. You can come to me and Joseph, you can get set up the right way, and then it can still not work out.
Mm-hmm.
But if you haven't made any plans for it not working out, especially if you have partners, if you have other people with capital, if you have other people with assets, you need to protect those things. You need to know what's going to happen.
Judica County Radio, Josh Whitaker, Joe Hamer, managing partners, right here at Whitaker and Hamer Law Firm, the power behind the program. They're practicing attorneys here in North Carolina, your law firm for life. Office is located Raleigh, Garner, Clayton, Goldsboro, Fuquay Varina, Gastonia, and Morehead City. If you've got a legal situation you're facing, maybe you're in this top 10 list. Again, this is people that are starting to get into a small business. These are mistakes they are making, and take some notes. You want to avoid these. But if you've got questions, you can always call Whitaker and Hamer, 800-659-1186. That's 800-659-1186. Leave your contact information briefly, what the call is about. An attorney with Whitaker and Hamer will be in touch. And you can email your questions to the show for a future broadcast. We'll answer them for you. info@judicacounty.com. We've got more of the top 10 list when we come back.